In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Welcome to the Q&A on Garabandal. We have a few questions regarding the warning and the miracle, and they tend to be about the criteria and the timing. So we're consolidating that into basically one question, and we'll address these several questions at the same time. We also have a question regarding the end of times as mentioned at Garabandal. And we have a question regarding where we can find more information about Garabandal for further research. So let us begin. We're starting, as I mentioned, with looking at the miracle and the warning. So we're going to look at the criteria for both together, because when you look at the criteria of both of them together, they kind of support each other. In other words, information from the warning kind of tells us or provides more information as to when the miracle will occur as well. The first thing in the miracle is the timing of what day it will occur on and what month. And Conchita mentions that it will be a Thursday at 8:30 p.m. between April 8th and the 16th inclusive. In other words, could be the 8th or the 16th or any date in between. Also, importantly, it will occur on the feast day of a non-Spanish male martyr of the Eucharist. And it does not occur on a holy day of the church. Also, we're told that it coincides with an infrequent event in the church. And of course, we have no idea what that would be, because that will occur in the future. And in the warning, important information is that the warning will occur in an even-numbered year. And these hints are coming from Mary Lowley. And I'm not putting the sources for this information down because this would make it a very long video. What I'm recommending is you look at this information. You could always look it up. And we are going to go over where you can obtain additional information. The next hint regarding the warning is it occurs either 3 weeks or 3 months before the miracle. Again, very important. In that case, with the miracle occurring in April, it means that the warning will be either in March or in January. And it also means that the miracle will occur in the same year. So it means the miracle will occur in an even-numbered year. The other interesting little tidbit comes from, I believe, Conchita, where she mentions that this will occur after a church synod. And we did have a church synod in October 2019, and many thought that perhaps it would be in 2020 when the miracle would occur. But the church has had synods in the past, and we are going into a very long synod that begins in 2021, in October of 2021, and ends in October of 2023. The church will seem to disappear from the persecution of communism. And this is known also as the tribulation, which seems centered upon the church. And the reason why the church would seem to disappear is because it's not necessarily, and I think this is maybe a misunderstanding of this prophecy, it's not that Russia or China will invade the whole world and impose a communistic government upon everyone. What this means, this really goes to the errors of Russia idea, where the errors of Russia are cultural errors. It's cultural communism, basically, or cultural Marxism, as some people like to call it. And the founders of communism in Russia, Karl Marx and Lenin and Engels, they proposed that the way to subjugate the people and to control the people is by undermining their morality, by introducing corruption into society. And this isn't my idea. This is what they wrote about. So this is in black and white as they described how they would do that. And they would say, like, introducing alcoholism, immoral sexuality. And if you look at that as the criteria for cultural communism, it's already swept all across the world. And it's only getting worse. We're seeing the demeaning of women, of motherhood, of fatherhood. We're seeing attack on the innocence of children. We're seeing all kinds of immorality that's being pumped by mass media and entertainment into all segments of our society. The other point is the return of the Pope from Moscow. Now, the interesting thing about that is that the Vatican has been very eager to meet with the patriarchs of the Russian Orthodox Church. And I believe they've already established a meeting. However, it's not in Moscow. But with the synod approaching, this 3-year synod, I expect this to be repeated again. In other words, I expect this eagerness to meet with them to be repeated as it was in Vatican II. And Pope John XXIII was very interested in having the Russian Orthodox patriarchs participate, at least as observers, there in Vatican II. So I'm thinking, with the fact that the synod is a 3-year synod, that the same may occur. But it has not happened yet. Now let's look at the projections. When we look at the projection, we're looking at when this criteria could possibly come to place or come into effect. And it is just what I said, a projection. It's not a prophecy. And we're only doing this to basically satisfy some human curiosity regarding the timing of these going forward. So we mentioned that we're looking at the even-numbered years based upon what we were told by Mary Lowley, and we do not expect it to fall on a holy day of the church, but we do expect it to fall on a feast day of the martyr of the Eucharist. So let's take a look at each one of these for the next 10 years. So next one up is 2022. And again, it's April 14th. It has to fall in between the 8th and the 16th. It has to be a Thursday. And that happens to be Holy Thursday. So it's a holy day of the church, and we're told that will not happen then. The next is April 11th, which is the feast day of St. Stanislaus. Now, St. Stanislaus is not ordinarily depicted as a martyr of the Eucharist. He's definitely a martyr. But in looking at his history, looking at his life and how he gave up his life, what he did is he had a conflict with the king. And the king lived a very immoral life. And St. Stanislaus was attempting to get him to repent and to come back to the church and to give up his immoral lifestyle. And when he was unsuccessful, he excommunicated the king. Now, what the king did is the king went to one of the masses that St. Stanislaus was presiding over, and St. Stanislaus refused to give him Eucharist. The king became enraged, and had St. Stanislaus killed on the spot. So in my mind, he is a martyr of the Eucharist. And he's also an example for today, where we have the same situation. We have public figures who are leading an immoral lifestyle and proposing things that are contrary to the Christian life, and they're receiving the Eucharist. And St. Stanislaus saw this as a sacrilege, so he refused to give the king Eucharist. Let's go to the next year, in 2026, April 9th. I'm not aware of a martyr of the Eucharist. So if someone else is aware of that, please put that in the comment sections. I would love to see that. In 2028, again, April 13th is Holy Thursday. It also coincides with St. Hermenegild, which I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's the name of a Visigothic Spaniard. And he definitely is a martyr of the Eucharist. However, I believe Conchita also said that it would not fall on his feast day. And besides, it's a Holy Thursday. It's very unlikely to fall on the year of 2028. Again, we have 2030, April 11th, feast day of St. Stanislaus. Could possibly be then. And who knows, by 2030, they may have another synod that precedes that. 2032, April 15th, St. Tarsius. The interesting background on St. Tarsius is that one of the sources indicated that Conchita went in a trance and began describing the martyrdom of St. Tarsius. So it seemed to indicate that it would fall on his feast day. However, it does not fall in between the dates that I provided, April 8th through April 16th. Because St. Tarsius' feast day is on August 15th. Now, I have seen a theory that says that perhaps it doesn't fall on the feast day itself, but on the day of the feast day, which would mean it would fall on the 15th if it coincided with St. Tarsius' feast day. So then April 15th does become possible. So if we reach 2032 and the miracle in the morning has not occurred, then it possibly could be that April 15th, 2032. But with that being said, I'm going to give you my thinking on it. And again, this is just a projection. I'm looking at that date, April 11th, 2024, St. Stanislaus. And let me know what you think in the comment section. Read the history of St. Stanislaus, especially regarding his martyrdom. Does that sound like he's a martyr of the Eucharist to you? And the question reads, what is the Garabandal end of times? In other words, what does that statement mean, the end of times? And Mary was explicit to Conchita that she was not referring to the end of time, but the end of these times. And there was other allusions in other apparitions, but at Garabandal, it was very specific regarding the timetable for it. And it referred to 4 popes. So when this occurred, it was during the pontificate of Pope John the 23rd, and there were 4 more popes. That would be Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul I, Pope John Paul II, and then Pope Benedict XVI. So the question becomes, is it the end of the pontificate of Pope Benedict XVI, which is characterized by the end of times? Or is it at his death? And that perhaps was not a question until the last several years when Pope Benedict resigned. However, I don't have any proof of it, but my feeling of this is that it's the end of his pontificate, because at that point he stops being the Pope. And so what does that mean, the end of times? Going back to the question. So we were told by Jesus to St. Faustina that the divine mercy would be the last devotion that would be available to the church. So what does that mean, the last devotion? It's not the end of times. It's not the end of the time, right? So we'll continue to have a future of the church. Why is that the last devotion? And it seems like it would fit nicely into this end of times idea, where we're in the time of mercy up until the end of the pontificate of Pope Benedict XVI. So one of the other prophecies from Garabandal, is regarding the persecution of the church. And it's referred to as the tribulation. There's a tribulation, there's a chastisement, there are distinct events. There are two different things. The vision that they had of the tribulation was concerning the persecution of the church. And the vision they had of the chastisement was fire falling down from heaven. Now, when you think of the tribulation and the chastisement, it's reminiscent of other apparitions such as Fatima and Akita. So it makes sense that they would coincide with each other, that they would support each other. Why has not Garabandal been approved? And that's one of the questions, or one of the statements. It's basically a statement. It's a statement you see often when discussing Garabandal. Someone will post or comment that Garabandal is not approved by the church. Proceed with caution. And that would be something you would see all the time. And it's true. It is not fully approved by the church, and it's not disapproved. So the church has a neutral stance. And the reason why it does have a neutral stance is there's a prediction. And the prediction is concerning the warning and the miracle. And the miracle, the date of the miracle, was given to the Pope. It's given to Pope Paul VI, I believe. And so the Vatican knows what this date is. And they're acting in what's considered to be a prudent matter by not giving judgment until the actual miracle occurs. The next question I have is, why have I never heard of Garabandal before? Where can I find out more information? And I love that question. And this is the reason why we do videos, for questions like this. And I started thinking about this, and I thought, well, Garabandal, like I mentioned, is not approved by the church. So I don't expect it to be discussed at the pulpit. But then again, I can't remember when I've heard Fatima discussed at the pulpit either, and that's an approved apparition. So it's a small wonder that Catholics in good standing who attend Mass every week and participate in the sacraments, that they never heard of Garabandal. And we may have a generation that'll never hear of Fatima either. So where can you find out more about Garabandal? Well, you came to the right place, because I know an excellent source And it's a Facebook page. It's hosted by Glenn Hudson, and I'm going to provide a link here, and I hope that you pause and copy the link, or if you're watching it on TV, you write it down on paper and join that Facebook page. Glenn will be happy to give you a membership in that Facebook page. And a little bit about Glenn is he has been working at this for a long time. He has communication with Conchita Gonzalez from Garabandal, who lives in New York. And when it's time to announce the miracle, 8 days in advance, Conchita will tell Glenn, and you'll see it on that page. Besides that, he has the most information I've seen anywhere on Garabandal. He's done a great job accumulating that and putting it in his file section on his Facebook page. I want to thank you for joining and watching this video. Please like and subscribe to help us promote this content. Also, there's additional videos that are new. There's a similar Q&A on Fatima. There's some questions about the third secret and Malachi Martin on that. And also, the last video was from Father Iannucci, where he gave us an update on the cause of Luisa Picaretta.